I'm Karen Holmes Ward and welcome to Cityline. Massachusetts will observe Columbus Day as an official state holiday on Monday as a growing number of states and municipalities move away from doing so, including Boston.
Observing Indigenous Peoples Day is about replacing the colonial myths passed down from generation to generation with the true history of the land upon which our nation was founded. While our history is recognized as a point of pride, it is a complicated history. That history includes the genocide, displacement, and oppression of Indigenous peoples who lived here for thousands of years. Our shared history in this city is tainted by colonial violence and systemic exclusion. As the current residents of this land, the City of Boston has an opportunity and an obligation to honor the cultures, experiences, and achievements of Indigenous people. Today is a milestone in acknowledging and reckoning with that history.
This past Wednesday, Boston Mayor Kim Janey signed an executive order declaring the second Monday of October to be Indigenous Peoples Day in the city. Boston is now one of more than 24 Massachusetts cities and towns that have made this change. The mayor called this a small step in the efforts toward justice. Well, the move was met with mixed reaction at the City Hall ceremony.
We've been fighting for this for so many years. And I'm ecstatic. I'm grateful to the Creator. This is not anything against the Italian community at all. And I believe that once the history is understood correctly and the knowledge of it, the real truth, and stop believing the false narratives and the myths, we can all get past this.
I think that the mayor's action today to remove the celebration of Columbus Day in Boston is outrageous. It's divisive, and basically it's dismissive and disrespectful to Italian Americans that live in this city. We have no fight with the Indigenous people. We understand the many tragedies that they have endured over the hundreds of years, usually by the U.S. government. However, we do not see laying all the ills of colonialism at the feet of Christopher Columbus.
Right now, there are a pair of bills in committee in the House and Senate that both propose to designate the second Monday in October as Indigenous Peoples Day. The North American Indian Center of Boston is one of the groups advocating for change. Jean-Luc Pierre-Yves is the president of its board. Thank you for joining us. How are you today?
Thank you, Karen, for having me.
So first, let's start by talking about the North American Indian Center of Boston. It was established as a nonprofit in 1991. Tell us a little bit about the organization and its role and mission in the community.
Yes, North American Indian Center of Boston was reorganized in 1991. We actually have an organizational history that dates back to 1969, when we were formally organized as Boston Indian Council. So we have an over 50-year history in which we've been providing cultural and social services to the New England Native American community. Of course, we are on, Boston is on the traditional indigenous territory of the Massachusetts Nation. We are on land that is sacred to the Nipmuc, to the Wampanoag, and many different tribes that have called Boston home over this time.
Now, you're from New Orleans. Tell us how you got involved with NACOB and a little bit about your background.
Yes, I'm originally from New Orleans. I'm a member of the Tunica Biloxi tribe of Louisiana. My grandmother is Mississippi Band of Choctaw Indians. I joined the board of directors in 2017 for the North American Indian Center of Boston. I've been serving as president ever since. Working in various capacities, whether it's legislative advocacy, whether it's broadening our scope of programming, specifically focusing on public education, and whatever we can do to make sure that our community members have full-time employment. So we absolutely have been dedicated to our mission.
We heard some people in the package suggesting that the name should not be changed to Indigenous Peoples Day. Why is it important to you and your organization that the state of Massachusetts recognize this day as Indigenous Peoples Day?
So So in both of those quotes, you can tell that there is no fight on either side. So then, what is the debate actually about? And it actually goes back to that point about public education, talking about the actual sort of like how the story of Christopher Columbus is mythologized within our schools. How when our Native students go to these schools and actually tell their teachers, well, this is not what my grandmother told me, this is not what my mom told me, our students actually get disciplined and suspended, detention, whatever. But this is something that actually contributes to the overall health and quality of life for all of our community members.
Suspended. Talk a little bit more about that classroom situation.
Yeah, I can actually even go back to my own childhood in New Orleans, where, as my mom was a teacher, she actually had to tell her colleagues that no, Native Americans exist, we're still alive. I had history teachers that would go and bring my parents into class and ask them quite pointedly if I was on drugs. We have our students actually going and saying, this is not what I heard about Columbus. This is not what I heard about where our people are from. We are from this land. So we have all of that being confronted against this institutionalized knowledge that from young child to elder, our community is standing against.
What impact did that have on you growing up?
It had a large impact. It absolutely did affect my performance in schools. It actually spoke to the need for me to have a second type of schooling. I spent a lot of time in my grandparents' house learning our artisan beading and so forth. But through that crafting, there was a passing on of oral histories and stories that actually helped to supplement what I was receiving in school and actually contextualize, that body of knowledge with our own body of knowledge.
So the name change is just one step of many that Indigenous people are hoping for. You are mentioning and seems very specific here that you'd like to see the public school curriculum undergo some sort of formal change as well.
Yes, through the Massachusetts Indigenous Legislative Agenda, not only are we pursuing a statewide Indigenous Peoples Day, but we're actually pursuing deeper integration of Native history within public school curriculum. And we're doing that in coalition with United American Indians in New England and other partner organizations such as Indigenous Peoples Day Massachusetts.
So tell us more about what's in this Massachusetts Indigenous Legislative Agenda.
Well, actually today, Thursday, there is a public hearing on the protection of Native American heritage, in which we are pursuing statewide refinement of the enforcement of the Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act. We're pursuing prohibition of Native mascots in public schools. We're pursuing a special commission on the education of American Indian Alaska Native students within schools in the Commonwealth. So we're crossing the board. This is not just about representation. This is not just about holidays. This is about structural reform and what can we do on the state level to improve the quality of life for our community members.
All right. Do you see the state of Massachusetts ever passing the measure to observe Indigenous Peoples Day like our neighboring states of Vermont, Maine, and across the country in Oregon already have?
Yeah, this is not just a singular unilateral act by Mayor Kim Janey. This is coming after over 24 municipalities here within Massachusetts actually passing Indigenous Peoples Day. So we're seeing a statewide movement for Indigenous Peoples Day here in Massachusetts, and it is only a matter of time before Governor Baker or the governor actually signs that into law.
All right, Jean-Luc, thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Karen.
So we've heard about the impact that government institutions can potentially have with the name change. Next, we'll hear more about what one private institution is doing to